Modern life promises success if you work hard, earn big, and climb the ladder. But what if ticking every box leaves you burnt out, empty, and wondering where it all went wrong? The monk who sold his Ferrari offers a wake-up call for anyone realizing that achievement alone does not add up to a life well lived. This is a summary of The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma, an independent summary created for educational purposes. If this summary resonates with you, I encourage you to purchase the full book and explore it in greater depth. The book tells the story of Julian Mantle, a high-powered lawyer who appears to have it all but suffers a public breakdown that forces him to question everything. What follows is a fable-like journey, blending storytelling with life lessons as Julian seeks out the wisdom of ancient sages in the Himalayas and brings their teachings back to the modern world. Sharma's work is for anyone who senses that success without purpose is a hollow pursuit and is looking for a roadmap to reconnect with passion, balance, and meaning. The story begins with Julian Mantle's spectacular fall. Once a legendary trial lawyer, Julian is defined by his designer suits, luxury cars, and his relentless pursuit of victory in and out of the courtroom. Yet beneath the glossy exterior, he is breaking down. Years of overwork, chronic stress, and unhealthy habits catch up with him during a high-stakes trial, when he collapses in front of everyone. This heart attack is not just a health scare, it is a final warning from his body and soul that the way he is living is unsustainable. After recovering, Julian vanishes from the legal world, sells his mansion and, most notably, his prized Ferrari. Word spreads that he has gone to India in search of something that all his success could not provide. 3 years later, the story picks up with John, Julian's old friend and former colleague, now a lawyer himself. John is caught in a similar trap, working long hours, chasing the next win, drifting into cynicism and routine. Then, unexpectedly, Julian reappears at John's office, utterly transformed. Gone is the stressed-out, overweight, aged man. In his place stands someone youthful, energetic, calm, and radiating a sense of peace. Julian explains that he has found answers among the sages of Savannah, a mystical community hidden deep in the Himalayas, and is back to share their wisdom. Julian's tale is both dramatic and relatable. He openly describes how his old life, despite all its outward markers of success, was ultimately empty. The relentless hunger for more money, more prestige, more validation, never led to lasting satisfaction. Instead, it left him physically broken and emotionally bankrupt. What strikes John, and will strike any reader stuck on the treadmill, is the realization that achievement without meaning is a recipe for self-destruction. Julian's willingness to let go of everything familiar, including his career, reputation, and material possessions, is presented as both a warning and an invitation. You do not have to wait for a crisis to make a change. As Julian recounts his journey through India, the story shifts from a simple narrative to a blend of adventure and philosophy. He travels through villages, learns from monks and yogis, and gradually sheds the layers of his old identity. He is most captivated by legends of monks who live for over a century with youthful energy and deep wisdom, thanks to the way they train their minds and live with purpose. Eventually, Julian finds Yogi Krishnan, a former lawyer-turned-temple caretaker, who becomes his first real mentor. Krishnan, having left his own high-stress career behind, teaches Julian that failure and loss are part of personal growth, that even setbacks are valuable if you learn from them. It is through Krishnan that Julian hears about the sages of Savannah, said to possess the secrets of radiant health, happiness, and fulfillment. Driven by curiosity and a desperate need for change, Julian sets off alone into the Himalayas to find these sages. The journey is hard and at times dangerous, but he is driven by an inner sense that this path is the right one, no matter how unconventional it looks from the outside. After days of travel, Julian finally encounters one of the sages of Savannah, Yogi Raman, who agrees to bring him to their hidden village. But there is one condition. Julian must promise that if he learns their wisdom, he will return to the West and share it with those who need it most. He agrees, sensing that what he is about to discover could change countless lives, not just his own. Arriving in the village of Savannah, Julian is struck by its beauty, tranquility, and the almost ageless vitality of its inhabitants. The sages radiate happiness, clarity, and health. Their lives are simple but deeply meaningful, focused on self-mastery, service, and harmony with nature. Julian is welcomed into their world and quickly becomes a student, learning from Yogi Raman and the other sages every day. As Julian settles into this new life, the transformation is not just on the outside. His mind grows sharper, his body becomes stronger, and a genuine sense of peace and joy replaces his old anxiety and emptiness. He learns that self-mastery and personal responsibility are not just abstract concepts but practical disciplines, essential for anyone who wants to live with purpose rather than drift. The wisdom of the sages is practical and time-tested, not mystical tricks, but habits and mindsets that anyone can adopt. Julian's journey is a mirror for anyone caught up in busyness, status chasing, or workaholism. It challenges the reader to rethink what it means to be successful and to consider the cost of ignoring your inner life for too long. The transformation is not about escaping reality but about learning how to live with more intention, clarity, and joy, no matter what you do for a living. Julian's immersion in the Savannah community is a turning point, not just in his personal story but as a model for real, lasting change. He realizes early on that the dramatic improvement in his well-being comes less from escaping the old world and more from learning a new way to engage with life. The monks of Savannah live simply, but their daily practices are deliberate and meaningful. Each day begins before dawn, with time carved out for quiet reflection, deep breathing, physical activity, and gratitude. This combination forms the foundation for what Julian later calls self-leadership, the art of managing your own mind, body, and spirit, rather than letting circumstances or old habits run the show. Learning from Yogi Raman, Julian absorbs the importance of both discipline and wonder. The monks do not treat personal growth as a chore, but as the very center of a rich life. He is taught that your mindset shapes your reality, what you focus on grows, and your outer world eventually mirrors your inner world. Julian starts to notice that by deliberately choosing what to think about and how to respond, he can change the trajectory of his entire day. Simple pleasures, like watching the sunrise or noticing the scent of flowers, become sources of real joy. The constant mental noise that once drove him is gradually replaced by clarity and appreciation. At the heart of the Savannah system are 7 core principles, each wrapped in the symbols of a fable that Yogi Raman shares with Julian. The story begins with a magnificent garden, representing the mind. The monks teach Julian that just as a lush garden must be tended daily, your mind needs intentional care. Negative thoughts, worries, and anxieties are like weeds that, if left unchecked, can quickly take over. The solution is not to ignore these thoughts but to pull them up by the roots and replace them with seeds of positivity, gratitude, and focus. The quality of your life, Julian learns, is determined by the quality of your thoughts, and tending to this inner landscape is a daily responsibility. The next symbol is a towering red lighthouse, which stands for purpose. The sages explain that having a clear sense of meaning and direction is vital. Without it, even great achievements feel hollow and setbacks can become overwhelming. Julian is encouraged to define his own guiding purpose, something deeper than status or money. This clarity is what anchors you when life becomes chaotic or uncertain. When you know your true mission, it becomes easier to say no to distractions and pour your energy into what really matters. A Japanese sumo wrestler, almost cartoonishly out of place, appears next in the fable. He represents the importance of constant self-improvement and the power of pushing past self-imposed limitations. The monks show Julian that growth is a lifelong pursuit. Complacency leads to stagnation. By stepping out of your comfort zone, embracing new challenges, and learning from mistakes, you keep your mind and spirit alive. The sumo's presence in the story is a reminder that anyone can change, no matter their age or background. It is never too late to rewrite your story. The sumo wrestler is naked except for a pink wire cable covering his modesty, a detail that makes Julian laugh at first. This cable symbolizes the power of discipline, the strength to stick to your commitments and routines, even when motivation fades. The monks are gentle but firm about this point. Discipline is not about punishment or self-denial. It is about creating the structure that allows freedom and creativity to flourish. Habits, once ingrained, become invisible allies that make good choices automatic. Julian learns that even small acts of discipline, like keeping promises to yourself, can create massive change over time. Next, the wrestler discovers a shiny gold stopwatch. This represents time, the most precious resource anyone has. In the modern world, it is easy to treat time carelessly, filling hours with busyness but leaving little space for what matters. The sages of Savannah impress upon Julian the need to value every moment. They teach him to guard his time fiercely, to eliminate distractions, and to prioritize the activities and people that align with his true purpose. He comes to understand that how you spend your days is how you spend your life. By being intentional with time, you make room for real growth, deep relationships, and moments of peace. After slipping on the stopwatch, the wrestler falls, seemingly unconscious, only to be revived by the sweet scent of blooming yellow roses. The roses stand for selfless service and kindness. The monks explain that true fulfillment is found not in what you get, but in what you give. Helping others, showing compassion, and making a positive difference, no matter how small, is a core part of the Savannah philosophy. This is not presented as a vague moral lesson but as a practical strategy for happiness and connection. Julian realizes that acts of kindness replenish your own spirit even as they lift others. Finally, the sumo wrestler finds a path covered in sparkling diamonds, which leads him to lasting joy and fulfillment. This final symbol represents the pursuit of continuous personal growth and the courage to follow your unique path, wherever it may lead. The diamonds are reminders that every day offers opportunities for wonder, learning, and gratitude if you look for them. Rather than chasing some distant goal or ideal, true happiness comes from walking your path with presence and curiosity, noticing the beauty along the way. As Julian absorbs these teachings, he is challenged to put them into practice, not just in theory. The sages do not simply talk about wisdom, they embody it, living each day with intention, grace, and discipline. Julian is taught specific techniques for meditation, visualization, goal setting, and managing his thoughts. He learns the value of rising early, of moving his body, of journaling to reflect on his progress, and of setting aside time for silence and gratitude. The transformation he experiences is the result of daily, consistent effort rather than sudden revelation. Importantly, Julian is not encouraged to withdraw from the world or avoid ambition. Instead, the message is to pursue excellence with balance, to use your talents in the service of others, and to cultivate joy along the way. The Savannah approach is both timeless and practical, blending ancient wisdom with habits anyone can adopt, regardless of background or circumstances. Julian's promise to share what he has learned is a thread that runs throughout the story. The sages know that the modern world, for all its progress, is plagued by anxiety, restlessness, and emptiness. Their wisdom is not a secret to be hoarded but a toolkit to be passed on, adapted to the challenges of everyday life. As Julian prepares to return home, he understands that the greatest impact comes not from preaching, but from living these principles and letting the results speak for themselves. Julian's story shifts as he prepares to bring the lessons of Savannah back to his old world. It is one thing to live mindfully in a tranquil Himalayan village, but the real challenge is integrating these practices into the chaos of daily life, work, and relationships. The monks make it clear that wisdom is wasted if it cannot survive outside the garden, so they urge Julian to embody what he has learned and share it through action, not just words. The return to ordinary life becomes Julian's final test, and ultimately his greatest triumph. He explains to John that transformation is not about abandoning your old life but about returning to it with new eyes. Rather than preaching or criticizing others, Julian demonstrates his renewed purpose by living differently. Waking early, moving his body, guarding his attention, and carving out time for stillness and gratitude every day. He sets clear goals, stays disciplined about his commitments, and brings compassion to his work and relationships. The most powerful changes are the smallest and most consistent ones, and over time, those around him notice his energy, his presence, and his calm. As John listens, he feels his own restlessness surface. Like so many people, he recognizes himself in Julian's former habits. The overwork, the endless striving, the feeling that life is happening somewhere else while he is busy making plans. Inspired by Julian's example, he commits to trying the Savannah principles for himself, even if it means questioning routines and assumptions that have become second nature. The book frames this not as a one-off experiment, but as the start of a lifelong journey. Every day is a chance to reset your intentions, nurture your mind, and choose the person you want to become. A major theme in the book's closing chapters is the myth of someday. Many people postpone their dreams or self-care until after the next deadline, the next promotion, or when life slows down. The wisdom of the monks is a direct challenge to this thinking. Life does not wait. The present moment is all you truly have, and building a life of meaning happens in the choices you make today, not some distant future. Julian urges John, and by extension the reader, to start small. Wake up a little earlier, reflect for a few minutes each day, take control of your thoughts, and act with kindness, even when no one is watching. Sharma is clear that happiness, peace, and fulfillment are skills, not accidents. They require deliberate practice. The book outlines techniques for each of the 7 core virtues: mental rehearsal and visualization for clarity of purpose, journaling and self-reflection for mental discipline, setting rituals and routines to anchor new habits, and regular acts of service to nourish the spirit. There is no magic bullet, no overnight cure, but a steady, daily investment in these practices leads to a compounded transformation that is both profound and sustainable. The real gift Julian brings back is the understanding that anyone can live with greater vitality, focus, and joy, no matter their job, status, or starting point. The story is a rebuttal to the idea that only dramatic changes or escapes can fix your life. Instead, it champions the power of daily habits, conscious choices, and a willingness to learn from every experience. Each day is an opportunity to tend your mental garden, clarify your values, and walk your unique path with courage and gratitude. Before he leaves, Julian reminds John, and the reader, that the greatest barrier to change is not lack of knowledge but inertia. The hardest part is starting. Most people stay stuck not because they do not know what to do, but because they have not made the choice to take ownership of their lives. The wisdom of Savannah is a call to action. Begin now with whatever you have, and trust that small, consistent steps will reshape your life from the inside out. As the narrative closes, the focus returns to service and legacy. The monks believe that the ultimate purpose of wisdom is to help others live better lives. Julian feels a duty to pass on what he has learned, not just for his own growth, but as a way to honor the community that changed his life. The ripple effect of this is what gives his journey lasting significance. One person's transformation can quietly inspire a family, a workplace, or even a wider community. By living as an example rather than a preacher, Julian hopes to spark change in others, just as the monks sparked change in him. Here are 5 practical, memorable takeaways from the monk who sold his Ferrari. 1. Treat your mind like a garden. Pull out negative thoughts by the roots and deliberately plant seeds of positivity, gratitude, and focus every day. 2. Define your true purpose and align your daily actions with it so you are guided by meaning instead of distractions. 3. Build discipline through small daily rituals. Stick to your commitments, and over time these habits will shape your character and your results. 4. Protect your time as your most valuable resource. Prioritize what matters and be ruthless about eliminating what does not serve your purpose. 5. Serve others whenever you can. Acts of kindness and contribution will energize you, deepen your sense of meaning, and create a lasting impact. You've listened to a summary of The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma, created independently for educational purposes. If it resonated with you, consider buying the full book to explore it in greater detail. Well done for making it to the end of this summary. That alone shows you care about living more fully. If there is one thing you can do today, start by setting aside just 5 minutes to sit in silence, reflect on what matters most to you,